Today is Amazon Prime Day, a day full of sales on Amazon.com. Usually great for both customers and businesses, but some are having problems coming out of the pandemic. American Airlines is canceling hundreds of flights. It says it doesn't have enough workers to meet demand. And Bitcoin took a dive today after China expanded its crackdown on the cryptocurrency. One province has ordered all miners to stop mining. That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. The Transportation Security Administration says it screened over 2 million people yesterday at airports across the country. That's the largest single-day number since the pandemic began. The volume may have taken analysts by surprise, since there was no holiday over the weekend. Memorial Day also set a pandemic record for air travel this year. Almost 9 million people passed through security checkpoints then, but that volume came over a long weekend, and no single day exceeded 2 million passengers. But American Airlines is being forced to cancel hundreds of flights through at least mid-July. The company is citing labor shortages as one of the reasons. The airline canceled 120 flights on Saturday alone. It's projecting at least 50 to 80 cancellations a day going forward. Other factors are the surge in demand for air travel, bad weather, and also vendors are struggling to find their own workers. The airline's Dallas hub is said to be most affected by the scheduling issues. American Airlines customers who have been booked through July 15th will be notified so they can make travel adjustments in advance. And the new report shows it's only taking 6 days to sell a typical home in the U.S. The report from real estate app Zillow shows the number of houses on the market increased slightly in May after falling for 9 straight months. But there are still 30% fewer listed homes than a year ago. That supply crunch coupled with strong demand drove the price of the typical home in the U.S. up by 13% over the past year. It's a record high according to Zillow data that goes back for 25 years. Zillow economists expect the market to not let up anytime soon, predicting home prices to rise by almost 18% through the end of the year. And it's Amazon Prime Day, a day when there's a ton of sales on Amazon. Customers get discounts and businesses get customers. But coming out of the pandemic, some small businesses are experiencing a problem. NTD's Colin Fredrickson tells us more.
Amazon Prime Day is here.
2 days of epic deals for Amazon Prime members. But for small businesses, not everything is joy and party confetti. One marketing firm discusses the problem.
So obviously, Amazon Prime Day today, bleeding into tomorrow. A lot of the stuff that, people are worried about are the supply issues.
Coming out of the pandemic, businesses are dealing with low supply and high demand. Many items are either unavailable or too expensive, making it difficult to offer discounts. A big deal on Prime Day.
41% of Americans say they will at least shop on Prime Day and buy at least one product. We've seen businesses in the past that have made more money in one day than they'll make almost for the rest of the year.
Allergy Defender is a small business that provides relief from indoor allergies and asthma. Co-founder Savannah Elliott says there was a time during the pandemic when sprayers and bottles were very expensive and hard to find.
When everything first started, we definitely were hit with supply chain issues. Recently, things started to come back like sprayers and bottles.
Their marketing consultant says they ended up getting way ahead of themselves, buying what he called an obscene amount of inventory. However, they chose not to offer discounts. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And a German trade union wants 7 Amazon warehouses to go on strike today. It would last several days and coincide with the global Prime Day promotion. The union says it's to get the workers better pay and working conditions. Germany is Amazon's biggest market after the United States. As Amazon's spokesperson said, though, the company offers excellent pay and benefits and said that during past calls for strikes, over 90% of employees in the logistics centers worked as normal. Germany's antitrust watchdog is taking a closer look at Apple. The cartel office wants to know if the tech giant is exploiting its market power. Here's NTD's Evelyn Lee with more.
Apple is facing closer scrutiny from Germany's antitrust watchdog. The cartel office said it launched an investigation into whether the tech giant is exploiting its market position. The president of the Federal Cartel Office says they're investigating all elements. That includes Apple hardware, the Apple Store, Apple Music, and Apple Arcade.
We're investigating whether all of these elements taken together create a kind of independent economic system that makes it extremely difficult for other companies to go up against.
Under recent reforms to Germany's competition laws, the watchdog gained enhanced powers. It's now making use of them to open investigations into Google, Facebook, and Amazon over their data practices. Mund says they're investigating two things. One is whether they really have an impact on competition, and secondly, if they're hindering fair competition that leads to customer disadvantage.
If you look at Facebook, for example, where the consumer has to agree to Facebook accessing all their data, this is part of our investigation.
The watchdog says it has received more complaints about Apple and is considering further proceedings against the tech giant. Apple allegedly gives itself preferential treatment by pre-installing its own applications.
Our aim is to put an end to elements which are not fair to competition, so that companies have to behave differently in the future and become more fair, and opening up the market.
An Apple spokesperson said the company's App Store has given German developers of all sizes the same opportunity. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And Facebook is pushing into the audio chat space. It's launched its own live audio rooms, similar to Clubhouse, which became a hit as people stayed home during the pandemic. Facebook says with live audio rooms, you can listen in and join chats with public figures and experts. Certain people in Facebook groups can create their own rooms and invite speakers. You can also listen to podcasts while browsing Facebook. Several big tech companies have launched or are launching similar products, including Twitter's Twitter Spaces and Spotify's Green Room. Slack, Microsoft-owned LinkedIn, and Reddit are also working on similar products. And Wall Street rallied Monday with the Dow completing its strongest session in over 3 months. It rose 587 points, or 1 3/4%. S&P 500 gained 58 points, 1 4/10%. The Nasdaq climbed 111 points today, 0.8%. Bitcoin, though, suffered a fresh slump today. The cryptocurrency tumbled as much as 9% at one point, sinking below 33,000. That was its lowest in close to 2 weeks. Analysts say the fall followed news of a deeper crackdown in China. Authorities in Sichuan province on Friday ordered all Bitcoin miners to cease operations. That after China's cabinet last month vowed to clamp down on mining and trading as part of a series of measures to control financial risks. Bitcoin is produced by powerful computers crunching data, and China accounts for more than half of global mining supply. The cryptocurrency is now at only half its April peak, which was close to 65,000, and its smaller rival Ether has also tracked the declines. And farmers are challenging part of the recent stimulus law in court. They say a farm loan relief program discriminates against white people instead of treating all Americans the same. NTD's Patrick Hayden speaks to a lawyer representing some of the farmers.
White farmers in Illinois are suing the government over a farm loan relief program that allocates benefits based on skin color. In March, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan. The $2 trillion bill includes government debt relief to farmers, but only if they are a racial minority.
If you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, anything other than white, you get your loans completely forgiven at 120%. And if you're white, you get nothing from the program.
Roper is challenging the program, saying it fails to adhere to equal protections under the law, which is the Fifth Amendment. The farmers' debt relief portion is only a tiny part of the huge emergency bill that was passed.
So I think it probably didn't get the vetting that normally you would have with this type of legislation because of the speed they were trying to get it passed. But the government is attempting to justify it by saying, well, in the past, there has been discrimination against racial minorities.
But he says past discrimination has already been taken into consideration.
They've set up new programs. They've set up new agencies within the Department of Agriculture, and they've paid out over $2 billion to settle class action lawsuits challenging discrimination.
Roper says his clients are frustrated at the inequality. They're requesting preliminary injunctions to put the government program on hold while the case is running. Roper says there are more cases like this that will be filed. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And Governor Gavin Newsom says California will pay all rent owed to landlords under the eviction ban. Many are now wondering if the ban will be extended. The rent payback is giving landlords the funds they've been missing and giving renters a clean financial slate. California has enough money from federal aid packages to pay back rent for all residents, but the state has been slow to get the money out. The ban on evictions is set to end June 30th, and now Newsom and lawmakers are meeting privately to decide what to do next. Some want to see it extended, but an advocacy group member says many residents are still not ready to pay, and a local property manager says the eviction ban has put too much financial pressure on property owners. And a miner who made safety complaints at a Tennessee zinc mine is now suing the mine for firing him. And the federal regulator is helping him. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the details.
A zinc miner is suing his former employer in Tennessee. He claims he was illegally fired for making safety complaints. Federal regulators have brought the complaint against Neostar Gordonsville LLC on behalf of Richard Waller. In April, a judge approved the temporary reinstatement of Waller's pay. That's while the case proceeds. The miner says he was fired for documenting unsafe conditions. Under the Federal Mine Safety and Health Act, it's illegal to fire miners for refusing to work in unsafe or unhealthy conditions. But the company says he was fired for insubordination. The miner says the company has a progressive discipline policy, but that wasn't followed in his case. The miner wants the firing cleared from his work record and his job back, including back pay. The complaint is also seeking a $20,000 penalty. Neostar Gordonsville declined to comment to NTD on the matter. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And many major Canadian fossil fuel companies are getting behind the government's plan for net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The plan could be a major transformation for Canadian life and seems like a death wish for traditional energy companies. So why are they backing it? Economist Fergus Hodgson's been looking into it, so I asked him if the companies are just trying to be martyrs for the cause.
They are going to try to adapt to the times. Firms do not want to get into a confrontation with regulators or with the government, so they realize the writing's on the wall, and if you can't beat them, join them, basically. Obviously, the whole idea of net zero 2050 is incredibly damaging. It's painful for the energy sector in Canada, especially Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland. However, they just realize that they are politically lacking the clout to push back. And so what else can they do but try to appease the mob who is basically coming for them?
So are they planning to continue business as usual? Are they going to start building solar panels, or what's the plan?
They will try to do whatever they can to get the subsidies for renewable or green energy options and get the investment dollars flowing to them. As I noted in the article, there's already a $3 billion fund that the Canadian federal government, and this is Canada, so you can times it by 10 in terms of the magnitude relative to the economy. They are already, there's an investment fund, 100% government funded, to bankroll projects to convert. So energy firms will have to adapt. They see the writing on the wall. Even though it will damage them and their workers in particular, what other option do they have?
It seems like a pretty big plan. I think your outline of it in your article, it makes it look like a pretty big plan. What are some of the biggest changes that Canadians are going to face if it does proceed?
Well, basically the current mining, so the coal extraction and conventional shale gas extraction has to go down about 75%. So an astronomical cut, really. And Canadians can't afford that because they have such severe climate. They're often remotely located. So the number of people employed in this sector comes to almost 20% of the economy. So we're looking at 500,000 jobs under threat. And so, yeah, so we're talking about a major half to three-quarter cut in many energy sources and about 500,000 jobs at threat right now.
You mentioned the people living in these very extreme temperatures and extreme climates in Canada. Is there opposition to this plan, or are they upset?
That's a really tough question, Paul, because yes, it is true that Albertans in general have a hostility with the federal government, and it's simply a safe Conservative Party, a stronghold. Newfoundland and Labrador is a bit more complicated since energy is not so dominant there, but still there is resistance to the specific plan. Now, so what can they do about it? Not a lot, because the Alberta population is only 14% of the Canadian population. Alberta is really the one who's under the gun. If they're only 14% of the population, they don't have the political clout to push back. And this is why there's all this tension for independence right now, which has just been building and building, especially during the COVID era where the economy is in such a dire strait.
Fergus Hodgson, Econ Americas. And Hong Kong pro-democracy newspaper Apple Daily will decide by the end of this week if it can continue operating. Company management asked Hong Kong authorities if they can unfreeze some of the company's assets. Last week, 500 police officers raided parent company NextDigital's headquarters. They froze $2.3 million worth of assets and arrested 5 top editors and executives. Apple Daily is now worried if it can't pay workers and therefore violate labor laws. The newspaper wrote in an article that it could take the issue to court, but authorities say the raid was related to so-called national security issues and collusion with foreign countries. The US and Britain criticized the raid. They say Hong Kong and Beijing authorities are targeting the city's freedoms. And the US Commerce Department says it lifted bans on TikTok and WeChat today. The Trump-era bans tried to block new downloads of both Chinese-owned apps over national security concerns. Conway G. Gittins has more.
Trump-era bans against TikTok and WeChat were lifted Monday. The U.S. Commerce Department said it was rescinding a list of prohibited transactions with TikTok and WeChat that was put in place in September as then-President Trump looked to block new U.S. downloads of both Chinese-owned apps and other transactions that would have effectively banned the use of either app in the U.S. This is the latest reversal under the new Biden administration. Earlier this month, President Biden withdrew a series of Trump executive orders that sought to block TikTok and WeChat and ordered the Commerce Department to review national security concerns posed by the two apps and others. The Commerce Department was given 120 days to monitor software apps like TikTok and make recommendations on how to protect U.S. data acquired or accessible by companies that are controlled by foreign adversaries. A separate U.S. national security review of TikTok, launched in 2019, still remains active.
Still to come this evening. A full-size flying race car flies for the first time without a pilot. The company says flying car racing is just around the corner. And a diamond rush letdown in South Africa. Unidentified stones that lured thousands of diamond hunters are in fact not diamonds. What are they then? That and more after this short break.
Every once in a while, something comes along, so masterful, it leaves you in awe. So inspiring, it changes your life. So beautiful, you wish it would never end. When that happens, it's something not to be missed. Shen Yun, coming to the Palace Theater, June 26th and 27th. Tickets at shenyun.com/Stamford.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
With Shepherd Lock, you can unlock your door by touching the deadbolt. Shepherd also boosts your home's security by proactively freezing in place if anyone ever tries to tamper with your lock or break down your door. We also make it easy to manage keys without hiding them under the mat. Easily create temporary keys for house guests, neighbors, or anyone else. Installation takes less than 5 minutes. Visit shepherdlock.com to buy your Shepherd Lock today, and for a limited time, enjoy 10% off.
Welcome back. With the shortage of chicken wings, Wingstop is hacking its own brand, launching a new virtual brand called Thighstop. Like the original Wingstop, it's offering 11 flavors of crispy chicken thighs. You can order them for delivery and carryout from its 1,400 locations through DoorDash.com or Thighstop.com. Chicken wings became increasingly popular during the pandemic, and now prices are rising. Department of Agriculture data shows prices are up over 7% year over year. And a full-size pilotless flying race car has taken to the sky for the first time. It comes ahead of the remotely piloted races to be held later this year at 3 international locations. NTD's Arlene Richards has the details.
This is a pilotless flying race car. It took to the sky in its maiden flight last week ahead of an electric flying Grand Prix due to be held later this year. The founder of the company says it was a major breakthrough for the company.
It is a momentous day, and it's been a huge piece of engineering work to get to this point and to be able to showcase the Mark III to the world and show that flying car racing is just around the corner, and we've come this far. That's pretty huge.
The multi-copter craft is based on an F1 car. Its thrust-to-weight ratio reportedly exceeds that of an F-15 fighter jet. Its creators see it as a stepping stone to a piloted version.
So I look back at what happened 100 years ago or over 100 years ago in the last great mobility revolutions, when the dawn of the automobile and the airplane, and what accelerated that, what drove acceptance, what drove technology. And it was always racing. If you go back far enough, the first application is always racing.
Pearson's company is in a race to be the first of several companies hoping to race manned drones or eVTOL vehicles. European plane maker Airbus is also working to launch races of 3 different classes of electric aircraft, including eVTOL. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And Royal Caribbean International is taking small steps for the cruise industry. On Sunday, the ship Freedom of the Seas embarked from Port Miami for a simulated voyage. Company officials say this 2-day trip with volunteer passengers will serve as a way to observe health and safety measures set by the CDC. The cruise industry has been shut down for about 15 months due to the pandemic. Royal Caribbean says this voyage is a major step towards making cruises possible for Americans looking to hit the seas for a vacation. No matter how you slice it, Americans love their pizza, especially in New York and Chicago. NTD's Phil Zoe tells us how much pizza restaurant foot traffic has increased in the cities since the beginning of this year.
Pizza is getting more and more popular across the U.S., especially in Chicago and New York. How about getting some pizza at the Nomad Piazza?
Visits to pizzerias and Italian restaurants are up 49% in America.
Amazing. The best pizza, which is like New York, so.
I love pizza.
In New York City, visits are up a whopping 82%.
So fast, it's so easy to get, it's comfort food. It's the true American comfort food.
People go out, people come to eat, we get more delivery.
Beat out only by Chicago at 85%.
It's picking up, better than before, yes.
By the end of this year, it should be good, you know. We should be getting back to normal by the end of this year.
Zenreach Marketing says numbers will continue to go up as cities open up and indoor mask mandates eliminated. Phil Zoe, NTD News, New York.
That's the latest business updates for today. You can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. But for NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.